Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Spencer.
And I'm just here for the ride.
Woo! And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today we're doing a review of Masters of the Universe, the board game.
Thundercats!
Clash for Eternia.
Oh.
Yeah. It's almost.
You're going to say Autobots roll out next?
Yeah.
Just checking. So yeah, there were two He-Man games that came out at the same time.
Yeah.
There was the one on GameFound from Awakened Realms, I believe.
Okay.
I think it was
Is
Awakened
that
Realms.
Awakened Realms?
I don't think
Nice.
it
I
was,
didn't
was
know
it?
that.
I mean, it was on GameFound. Maybe it
That
was.
doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Used to mean Awakened Realms.
Right.
But this is the CMON version, hence Clash for Eternia. And this game plays 1 to 5 players.
Yep.
So you can have
Like a 1v mini.
1v many, right? 4 versus an AI, 4 versus one of your buddies.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of scale it accordingly from there, right? Anywhere in between. And when you play solo, you can either just try with one hero or you can play multiple heroes. You do have that option. This is sort of a mesh of like a Zombicide, Massive Darkness kind of style. Mm-hmm. If you understand how to play those games or Descent, you basically already kind of know how to play this.
Except on one board.
Yeah.
No, like exploring.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's all on one board.
It's
You
not
set
my-
up the terrain and you just go. There is a book
Of scenarios.
There's a book.
full of scenarios. I mean,
nice size.
a ton of them. It's 23 pages, and the first scenario is on page 4. So there's 19 different.
So a waste of 3 pages is what I'm hearing.
Waste of 3 pages.
Well, an index.
But there's tons
And
of
pictures.
Who needs that?
What'd you just call me?
tons of scenarios. There are 4 that are marked specifically for AI, and they do mark ones that are either open or you play as evil warriors.
Oh, I like how they have
so
that right in
forth.
the index. Because in the Zombicide one, they don't necessarily have that. You have to go through the
Right.
mission.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
can't do this one. Wrong player count. But to have that right there at the beginning, color-coded.
Yeah, so
That's a
it'll
nice
it'll
touch.
tell you what the controller. So that would be if somebody's playing against the other guy, the other individual players. That would tell
One
you
of the bad guys.
bad guys. Well, but not always, because there are bad guy like scenarios where the controller is the heroes.
Oh.
So they do provide variety. There are expansions. We haven't messed with those yet. There are 2 of them basically just offer different factions that you can play with, right? So some evil characters that you can add, and then the other ones like the She-Ra characters. So you can
Right.
play with additional good team characters to use. But anyways, this game is pretty straightforward. You get there's 2 phases. There's the character activation or the planning phase, excuse me, and then the activation phase. So during the planning phase, basically the player playing the controller is going to lay out what characters they're going to activate at what spot, and they're alternating spaces, and then the heroes or the other team, they're going to decide in what order they're going to go. The controller character also has a strategy card. They're going to play that, and that's sort of like a generic activation for like the minions that they're controlling, or it might make something else happen. We played versus an AI,
Right.
so the strategy card deck is very different than the one the controller's going to see. The controller's got one with a lot more options.
Yeah, we should just point out that most of the rules we're going to say is going to be the AI version. We will not go through all the rules for the other version,
Right.
as we have not had a full hands-on with that version.
Right. So anyways, when we're playing, basically you plan out your movement, then you start at one end of the board and you work your way down. There is a little energy icon. So the the second character to activate is going to get 1 energy, and then it scales all the way up to 3 energies. So you benefit by going later, but you also have to go later.
Yeah.
So more things can happen
Yeah,
to you
that's typical.
as you're doing that. But it makes sense.
But
And
I like
then-
that even the first player gets 1.
Right. Not the controller, but the first
Yeah.
player.
Yep.
And then also on this board, you track everybody's health with that. Mm-hmm. And so you've got a little icon, for, a little token with everybody's images on there. And then you just move those health up and down as you need. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You flip over. All those cards are assigned face down, and then you flip them over.
So you don't know which enemy is going to be activating when.
Right. And so when we were playing... If we were playing against the controller, it would have been the same way. The controller just would have chosen in what
Where they
order
went.
Right, just
they
like we
wanted
did.
to activate stuff.
Right.
Right, just like we did. But yeah, so then we try to base it on strategy and figure out like, okay, like we need Dan to go later,
Right.
Because we had a plan in place. And then it was like, I need to go earlier because I need to kill a bunch of these dudes before they activate, or I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
Yeah, it's only so many of us can die, and then lights out.
So in that scenario, right, we had 3 characters that could get KO'd before we lose, or well, the third one lost us the game.
Right. 3
We had
out.
2 deaths and a character at 1 hit point.
Yeah.
It was close.
That character was at 1 hit point for a long time.
It was like round 1. Guys, I'm going to hang out.
Yeah.
Let's
So-
split up.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's terrain. So there's unique terrain. They have cards, which is nice. It just gives you the terrain rules right there on the card.
Yeah, it's handy.
I appreciated that. There are fun things like in the scenario we played that had boulders that you could pick up and throw.
Yeah, super cool.
Which is super cool. Really enjoyed that. And then the combat's pretty straightforward. You've got an icon that with a number next to it, and it tells you whether it's a melee or ranged attack. You roll that many die, you do the thing.
Yep.
You spend energy. So when you gain energy, you're going to assign it on your player board to one of your skills or multiple of your skills. You can spread it out. If you do roll like a cool little Castle Grayskull, you do get to add an energy. But the bummer is that when you spend energy, it goes to the controller board.
Yeah.
And so the controller then gets
Feed the enemy.
to have that energy then to activate their characters. So there's sort of a push and pull there, right? You know, Dan took like, the controller's about down to no energy, and Dan's like, well, I'm about to spend 6.
I literally, but Tim said to Spencer at one point, well, hold on, we don't want to give it too much energy. And I said, yeah, because I'm about to give it like 9. It was like really bad.
But yeah, you're gonna the scenario the rules of your scenario are laid out pretty clearly in the scenario book. There's an escalation track. Which is also interesting. So there's going to be things that you do in the game that trigger escalation. And when you do that, you're going to unlock extra skills. Each character is going to have 1 skill of each color. And when you reach that point on the escalation track, you've got a 2-sided card, so you can pick which skill you want, which is kind of neat. So it gives you some other options. You can mix and match and play the way you want to play. And that's basically how you
basic
play the
gist.
game.
Yeah, the problem is there's 2 modes and 8 million scenarios. We just can't cover every rule.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're
Like-
yeah. This is a basic thing, you know. Again, on your turn, when you activate, you can move up to 3 spaces unless you
You're
have something that
dazed.
tells you otherwise.
Which you'll probably be dazed.
If you have range combat, the range is 4 for everybody unless it says otherwise. And line of sight rules apply. They're explained in the book. Or you can activate something on the board. Like a scenario
adjacent
token,
to, yeah.
right? And you could do the same action twice. There are opportunities for bonus actions if you spend energy for it.
And it's nice to put all that on this nice little handy-dandy player card.
Yeah.
And you have reactions and defense.
Yes.
Yep,
Which
some
have
of them have
separate
it. You don't get
things.
a basic defense. Like if somebody just attacks, you don't just get to defend. Some
No, but you can
characters will have
give a
abilities.
defense boost.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll
When
be
I got that
abilities.
defense boost, it was much more helpful for me.
Correct.
And armor is
more helpful.
yeah. Do not underestimate armor. Just
Yeah.
1 point of armor is big difference in this game.
Huge for enemies and heroes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, anyways, that's basically the rules. It's probably not perfect, but it's good enough for what we're trying to do. Let's go into everybody's thoughts on the game.
Yeah.
Spencer,
Yeah.
get us started.
All right. Well, it was really tough at the beginning. It almost took us out within the first 2 turns.
Yes.
In fact, I think you were dead on the first turn, or was it
Second-
the second
second
turn?
turn I did.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
he was
Me?
you died.
yeah.
first.
I
Yeah. It was.
I don't die.
You were almost dead.
I like playing life on the edge. You know.
And
Dan
as we're
was
going
only
through,
mostly dead.
well, as we're going through, my character is able to actually do some cool stuff.
Yes.
And everyone's like, okay, we've got to make him go first.
Yep.
So, I mean, I enjoyed being able to help more, but at the same time, we almost lost in the first 2 turns, and it's got that really tight that curve where after you start getting these other abilities, it really helps.
It's insane.
And you can really just stave off losing just
Right.
that one little bit more.
Right.
And having to choose which skill you get is, I love the idea because, boy, do you have to make some tough decisions there.
Yeah, I like that part of it. Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah, and every one of these abilities, I totally understand why this is a 3 because it's so strong.
Super powerful. Yeah, I mean, Battle Cat was my 3, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
pretty cool. You
and
get your own Battle Cat. That's
and then he
awesome.
becomes really awesome.
And then we had a fun win, didn't we?
I read the rules. It was invalid.
What? Oh.
You always need line of sight unless it says otherwise.
Okay.
It didn't say that. It just said a space with
No, unless it says otherwise.
I did question that, but it's fine. We'll take it.
We had to fix cameras.
Do character spaces block line of sight?
No.
Then I probably could have made it anyway.
Yeah, that's what
Oh.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Enemy might.
You could have
block line of
teleported
sight,
us
but-
out, and then we would have needed another turn to actually get away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So we
I
won
think
by a
we would've
turn
won
faster.
anyway,
I
yeah.
agree because I was in a cave just or ruins throwing guys around.
And the side there.
Hilarious.
It was
And
crazy.
then you found the objective we needed, and to get out, I just teleported them out.
I love you guys being able to see Bob's reaction though when something like that. What?
Should have said that. Didn't say line of sight.
Yeah,
It just says any space.
But we all played a crucial role in either winning or not losing.
Yeah, I would say that games like this, for me, do benefit greatly when everybody gets to do something
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
You know,
And something I'll talk about later, character like thematic.
Oh,
the
yeah.
character
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
playing. Like we'll
Absolutely.
talk about, especially us three. You do too, but because of the type of character you were playing, it's less obvious when you're playing your character. But like I'll talk later. But like
Sure.
all three of us had a moment where it was like that's clearly what that character was built to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
which I guess for you was the end of the game, right? Like that is what your character's built to do, and you did it. Like so, all of us had that for sure.
yeah. Anything else?
No, I mean components were all fine, and the art was it's not the art from the
The original cartoon.
original cartoon, but it's still good art.
Yeah,
think so.
I think the art
The
is
box
in the
art's better.
I think the art is in the spirit of the cartoon
Oh,
and the
absolutely,
comics.
absolutely.
And the minis
I haven't read the
all
comics.
reflect that.
It's nice that they kept using me as reference for the art.
Well, don't sell yourself short, man.
Aw.
He did just get a face peel that day.
Get a little too much off.
All right, Bobby, what do you got? What do you think about this?
It was interesting. Like I said, it was very difficult at the beginning. Like, I died right away. All I did was walk up, I shot a couple of guys, and that did damage to myself. And then I took another hit, and I was dead. So I didn't take
You
very
did
long.
choose to do the action that damaged yourself.
Yes,
as the
but I did
lowest
hit two people
as
at the
the
same time
lowest
to do
hit
it,
point
though.
character.
Yes.
Just check it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, yeah, I'm very squishy. Orko, he's the coolest character in the show, so that should
I
be
will
let me
say,
known.
I'm about to lose half of our viewers, but as not a fan of He-Man, the two characters I know are He-Man and that thing.
Orko.
Yeah, I instantly
and
recognize that
Skeletor.
thing. Well, he doesn't count.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
now the other half of the viewers left. That's it.
Yeah, so no, the Orko's cool. I really think that this little player board is really nice, like the little energy symbol that shows where the energy cube goes. It's got little divots for you to be able to pick the
Oh, yeah,
cards
that
up
was
so nice.
super easy, so that was thoughtful. So as you do unlock your abilities, you can't store this energy until you have those abilities unlocked, which makes it tricky because if you're at the start of the round and then the ability unlocks, like even after the first monster, well, I don't have any energy going into that ability, so I can't use it for a whole other turn
Right,
unless I'm
unless
going
you have
later in the
some
round.
combo.
or unless you roll something that gives you energy.
Right.
Like you take an
Sure.
action that gives you energy.
Right.
But, yeah.
But yeah, I guess like, the wording then, like I guess I would say, any space within 4, to me it means any space.
Right. But the rule book
Right.
says
For an attack,
line of sight.
for a teleport.
Unless
No, yeah.
It
well,
doesn't say teleport.
it does make sense to not have it on the card if there's a clear rule in the rulebook that says anytime something happens, it needs line of sight unless stated otherwise. That makes sense. That's a fine rule to have in a rulebook. A reminder on a card and stuff is always nice. That stuff is nice
Sure.
to have.
But I mean, other than that, like I was not having a ton of fun at the beginning. I'll go ahead and admit to that. Like it just seemed like without any of the extra abilities, we were just getting our behinds handed to us.
Oh my gosh,
like,
so much.
and it just felt useless, and it was so slow. Like, oh, we're dazed every round, so I'm only moving 2 spaces, so I have to spend the little bit amount of energy I have to get rid of that to try to move a little bit to catch up to where all the enemies are. Like, there were 2 tokens that we never even like searched, 2 or 3 tokens that we never searched, and like
Nope.
we just got lucky that
I was
the one
about
we
to hit
needed
'em up,
was
but-
close by, and
And how many of those
Man, that was-
cards,
that was
those
tough.
event cards
Oh,
we go through?
yes, and so
Oh.
like when you're doing the AI, you've got these 2 different decks. You have a character activation, which is for the main characters, and then you have these strategy activation cards. And there's 5 5 strategy activation cards in this deck. In one round, we pulled 3 of them.
Yeah.
And there were some of them were ridiculously powerful. It's like, this one you do all these actions. Some of them you only do one action, but it says, do this action. Then do the next one. So you're doing like 2 or 3 things on one card, and then adding another card to it. And when you don't have very many actions to respond to that with, it just felt like we were just at a major disadvantage at the very beginning.
Yeah,
but like,
very
luckily,
unlucky.
Yeah, luckily Dan was able to stay alive at that 1 hit point for like 3 rounds, and then we were able to actually get some more abilities and do some other stuff. But man, that was brutal for a while there.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
It was. I will not lie. It was definitely brutal for a little while.
But yeah, like you said, like having the these are the terrains that are in this scenario. Here's the card to have them out, so you could read how they all work. That was super handy. The tokens are fine. They do have the awesome meme-worthy He-Man on
really?
that token there.
So
That was
most
fantastic.
of the tokens,
Just have regular
most of the
He-Man.
tokens
look like Adam.
like this.
His name's Adam.
But if you have this one, then you wake up in the morning and you step outside. I don't know if you're going to be able to get that in focus, but yes, this is amazing. That is so funny.
That was one of the funniest bits.
It was.
We'll
really-
get it in post.
And Orko. Just the nostalgia of Orko to me, like that was one of my favorite characters. Like growing up, like I watched a lot of He-Man, but like I don't really care about He-Man. The cat was cool, but Orko, he was my.
Battle Cat's the best. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I love Battle Cat. But.
So I was excited to play him.
Yeah. All right, Dan. What do you think? As coming in with no
Well,
attachment.
so
to
there
the-
was a lot of stuff that went into this. So I have no attachment to He-Man. I was a Thundercats kid growing up. I also grew up in the 90s, unlike these guys. So there's different worlds, you know? I know, but I wasn't 100% sure his age, so I just was going to leave him out.
It's 100.
So I just, the theme, didn't mean much. Then when I was told that we were going to play this and review it, I watched a short video on gameplay. And I was like, guys, I just think I should sit this one out. It's just not for me, the theme, and I don't really like skirmish games. And Tim was like, no, it has a cooperative mode. We're not going to play a skirmish mode. And I was like, oh, the video that I watched didn't even talk about that. Okay, I'll play a co-op mode, sure. So then I went into it with, kind of a low bar, just not really caring much about it. And I was pretty pleasantly surprised. I have some negatives. I do think the game starts off way too slow. It almost feels like a bad engine builder. You know when you play a bad engine builder and you feel like you're chugging at the beginning, and then eventually something happens and you're like, oh, this is what the game was supposed to feel like the whole time. Right? This is again, it's not like a skirmish game, but it's like a 1v mini battle game that has that feeling, which I just don't think it should have. Like, and that's the other thing I wanted to preface this whole thing with, is it is so hard to talk about how the mechanics of a game feel in a scenario-based game. Because this scenario might just completely feel different than the next scenario we play. The next scenario might be like, start with 2 upgrade cards and do this objective. There's no way to cover every scenario. So all we can do is talk about how the game mechanics fell into place in this scenario. And all I can say is I do feel like how I would do this is just, so you have these 5 things here on this board. I'm just going to dump that half. These things right here, right? And every time certain things happen, like someone gets KO'd and we interact with the thing or whatever, it slides down. And the green, the yellow, and the red are your upgrade cards. You get a green card and you pick what side when you get to green, and so on. I really feel like in this scenario, we should have just started with one and then not get a second one until we get to the yellow. Just skip the first 3. Give us a start. Because like Bob said, yes, pulling 3 of those cards at the beginning was, I'm making a mess. Pulling those 3 cards at the beginning was really unlucky. But still, the fact that we had almost lost the scenario in 1 round just because of bad luck tells me we weren't given the tools we needed to start the scenario. And so I do think that this scenario, which we don't know the name of offhand, right?
Yeah, it was like the rescue or something.
Okay. Just if you play this game, go into that knowing that for that scenario.
Rescue.
Yeah, so rescue. And we played it because it was an early one that seemed like a tutorial-y one.
It seemed pretty straightforward.
Not
Oopsies.
so sure anymore. Not starting with those cards, it really makes it weird. The other thing I wanted to say was the tease is over. I'll talk about our moments that we had, right? So Spencer was our ranged damage dealer. He was kind of the DPS of the group, and we got Spencer up on a rock, so he was rolling extra dice, and he was shooting down on people, cutting off their paths to other people.
And I was the only one with armor.
And he was the only one with armor. Yeah, which, he did stay in the back, but that's fine. That's what we wanted him to do. Stay in the back and control enemy movements. If they, especially once he got a reaction card where when they moved, he could shoot them, right? So as they were moving towards the rest of us, he was standing in the back shooting them, and it felt like he was playing his character correctly.
Yeah. And the extra bonus die from on top really helps.
Right. For Bob's, we already talked about, right? So not only was he our healer, but then getting us a teleport objective win at the end, even if we would have had to do it a little bit different a turn later, that kind of stuff is huge for a utility healer kind of character, right? I was the speedster. That's all I really did. All my energy gave me extra move, but what that let me do was get over halfway across the board on my first turn, and we instantly had the enemy surrounded, which is really nice in something like this. The other thing that my character was able to do, especially once we had upgrades later in the game, is once we started realizing we're going to lose and we don't have the objective yet that we even need to get back to the beginning, is all of a sudden we planned our movements to where the enemies were going to start moving away from me towards the other teammates by having me be further away than the other people, the enemies. And then I was going to, I was back here, and I was going to start backdooring all the objectives back here while the enemies were moving across the other side of the board, because that's what I do. I could, in one move, I could get to here easily, and in one move, I get to here easily. So that's 2 actions. Well, obviously the action to flip the thing, but that's 2 move actions worth to hurry up and rush the rest of the objectives. It's what I do as the guy who controls movement, right?
And it would have also escalated our upgrading.
Right,
well,
and just we needed to start getting those extra upgrade
that
cards.
so bad.
And then Tim is obviously He-Man. He's the
Obviously.
straight up tank warrior. And at one point he was standing in the. You can still see him here. He was, and that's half the enemies that were there. He was standing in this spot and literally just picking up enemies and throwing them into each other, killing as much as he could, buying us time, because that's what we need the tank to do. Tim, survive. And we all had that moment where it was like, I'm playing my character correctly, and that is a very good feeling to have in this. I can see people saying the negative side of that is the character does have a playstyle for sure. My guy, all my energy does on the default is move. So if I'm just like doing melee fights from one guy away every single turn, I am wasting the possibilities of my character. And some people are going to be like, oh, I don't like that. I'm sorry. That's just how this game is. You pick a character, make sure to read their ability
play to their
before you
strengths.
pick a character, because you are going to want to play to their strengths. Yeah. So with all that out of the way, the last things I'll just say is, yes, the components are very nice. It was a little confusing learning the AI version of the game, just because it changes a lot of rules that are like obvious in a 1v mini version of this game would be. Oh, those decks work like that. The energy works like that. Yes, this all makes sense. Then you do the AI version. It's like, yes, except that rule doesn't exactly work like that anymore. And that rule doesn't exactly work like that anymore. And it was harder to learn. So you might want to spend some extra time ahead of time looking into the AI version if you're going to do that. But as a cooperative fighting kind of game like this, honestly, it really surprised me. I liked it quite a bit. I don't love it. And, I wish it was Thundercats. I'm just going to keep saying that to piss people off.
Seamon needs to buy that IP.
Yeah, tell me about it. But yeah, I really liked it. I guess the one last thing is, hey, guys, if you have an answer to this, leave it in the comments. These are the same, right? It's the only one that looks different. Why does it look different?
Right.
Answer my question. Answer my question. Anyway, we couldn't find anything that said that was different, so we just
rocks.
assumed it was the same.
Rocks.
It's just a slightly different shade of purple
Darker
for some reason.
purple
It's
rock.
violet.
Yeah.
Isn't it the same color like on that end right there?
No.
It is closer though. Yeah, I guess that's me.
So I was kind of excited because I do like skirmish games. I'm fine with He-Man. Like, I watched a lot of it, but I wouldn't say like, oh my God, like anything He-Man I must have. But I had a ton of He-Man toys when I was a kid, but the nostalgia thing just doesn't hit me near as much as it used to.
Sure.
So I don't, and maybe I'm just a little jaded towards it now with all of like the seeming nostalgia grabs, especially in the board game hobby, right? Like,
It's taking over the market.
There's a lot of them. So I'm kind of over that, but we got a copy of this from the store that we film at to review. So Seamon didn't send us this or anything.
Because if they did, 10 out of 10.
Right. 10 out, 20 out of 10. But no, I just like to say, we don't get paid for any of these. Sometimes we get free games, and that's it. But anyways, so I enjoyed the minis. The rule book was easy to get through and like understand the rules. Yes, the AI is trickier, a little trickier, but once we figured it out, it was fine. Except Bob kept getting mad because it was so hard.
Yeah.
And it was It was. I agree 100% with Dan where the first 2 turns of this game were almost not fun. It was so hard.
Yeah.
Because we were getting slapped around so much. But the instant that we started getting abilities and we started to turn the tide, this game was still hard, but it was so bananas, it started to get fun.
Well, I asked them at one point, because again, just didn't watch He-Man growing up. I said, so like, do they die a lot in the show? Because like, clearly the game is trying to kill us a lot. Because in the game, it's fine to die. You just respawn. In this scenario, it was a lose condition, but we just respawn. So I was like, is that a thing? Because it seems like that's what this scenario wants to happen. And they were like, no, in fact, they never died.
Nobody ever dies.
I will never die.
So this was really tough, even in the opening scenario. Now, we did also, like, the first 2 turns, probably not play our characters optimally. I mean, I don't think we did anything, like, bananas wrong.
Right.
Because I did, like, well, I'm going to get right out towards Skeletor.
Yeah, and
like,
I used max movement my first round, right? I
yeah,
moved like
so,
9
so,
spaces.
I mean, we did all, like, set ourselves up
Right,
for
we
what we
tried.
thought were good moves and not just like, oh, let's send them the range guy into melee combat.
Yeah.
You know, or anything like that. But again, like, I would almost house rule because I looked through like the first 5 or 6 scenarios
And
while you
all
were
of
talking.
them start with none, you're saying?
None of them say that you start. And
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that I made it that far. And there's a
Yeah.
bunch of weird rules in there. And so the other gripe that I have about this game is I feel like, I forget what other game we played. I feel like killing the little guys should get you something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I took
Oh, it's
4 of them
beast.
out in one blow, and I was like, cool.
So that was a
Yeah,
gripe.
which is helpful, but
That was
you
a
don't get
gripe I
anything
had
from
with
it.
Beast, except this market isn't near as tight as
Correct.
Beast, but it was a gripe I had with Beast where we're killing off minions and it does us nothing other than I have to take an action to buy us more time that may not even matter. So like early on, you know, there's all these minions, they're activating and they're coming in and they're beating the crap out of me because I don't have any armor.
Yeah.
So I unlocked the throw ability, which then became so much fun
Yeah.
because I'm like,
Became
all right, guys,
all you did for the rest
It
of
I'm
the
gonna
was,
pick
too.
this guy up and I'm gonna throw him over at that guy. I'm gonna pick this guy up. I'm gonna throw him at that guy. Oh crap! I need to get this guy away from me so I can heal. All right, I'm gonna throw him out of the room. I'm gonna use my other action to heal, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like, though, I haven't watched the show in a long time. I feel he does throw a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah,
enemies
yeah, yeah.
into enemies.
that's a thing.
It's a thing.
That's a thing. But once we got to that point, and that was the first special action that I unlocked. Once we got to that point, for me, the game completely turned around. It totally flipped. And also then because we started to get a little momentum. And I feel like even if we lost by the end of the game, I feel like the strategy was starting to really come together because I would call it the zombicide strategy, right? You have, because the zombies follow the noise,
Right.
So you got one
It's
dude that's like,
kiting.
come over here, right? And so we were clearing out all these objectives because it was a great plan. And we were set up. It just so happened that my dumbass was right
Found
next
the
to
guy.
the objective.
Yeah.
Well, which is
here's the guy
crazy.
you want.
In the
Surrounded
most-
by all the other people.
Most crowded room.
Well, it's crazy because you set up the game and you put them face up.
Oh,
And it was
you were
there.
there. Show it,
And
yeah.
then you shuffled them.
And it was
put them
there
back
again.
out, and it was there again.
Yeah, I thought there was no way it was going to be there again.
Tim's
What
like,
are the
I
odds?
mixed them back up.
Oh, I'm going to head into this cave.
Apparently very good. You know. So anyways, for me, the game really turned around once it got cooking, right? And we started to unlock the abilities. I don't know how I would feel with the 1v many. That might be fine. It might be fun.
I'm
for
a
the-
fan of one.
Looking
I
at
know
the
you
way, Looking at the way this game plays, I think it'd be fun. I'd be interested. Again, I don't like skirmish games, but 1v many combat games don't feel like skirmish
No,
games
because
to
it
me.
still feels like a co-op. to me,
Right.
right?
I don't know. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would definitely try it.
Yep.
I would 100%
I would
try
definitely
it.
try it.
I would also 100% play this against the AI version again, now knowing. But I might house rule that everybody starts with one ability. Or
Yeah, maybe.
Or,
I might-
Or
some-
even
some
killing
energy.
minions gives you energy.
Yeah,
something.
exactly. One energy for a minion
Or
would
a
make sense.
health.
It
I don't
might
know.
be too much, but it'd be worth trying. And seeing if scenarios do something like that. Because yeah. So the one starting with this thing, I'd want to try at least one more scenario, maybe 2 more, and then see like, is this a universal problem with the
Right,
game?
right.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's
totally
because
fair.
I'm not sure.
Totally fair. But yeah, I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
it was rough for a minute.
Flipping 3 of those 5 cards in one round.
It was
just
one
seemed
in
ridiculous.
particular,
It never
an
happened
ambush
again,
card.
though.
It never came
Never
up
happened
again.
again.
So it was clearly
Sure.
just bad luck.
Perfect
But
storm.
one of those cards in particular was really bad in the beginning. It was ambush. It hit everybody,
Everybody
for 4.
yeah.
And Oh,
That was rough.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad.
I
Came
mean,
in a
really,
bad
it
time.
hit everyone
Set
for
the scene.
2. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it actually.
It was an
hit
attack
everyone
for 4
2.
against everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I
Right.
mean, yeah.
It was scary.
It was.
So, anyways, all that being said, yes, I actually did really end up having fun with this kind of eventually. So let's give it our final score.
And on our show, we like to rate games from 1 to 10.
Hi guys, this is Bob from the Board Game Rundown. We started our own Patreon, and for just $5 a month, you can help keep our shelves stocked full of board games for you guys to watch us play and review and preview for you. So please go to our Patreon page, sign up, help whatever you can, and we hope to see you more. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Dan from the Board Game Rundown, and on our show, we like to rate games from 1 to 10. we do use 0.5s because that's more variability sometimes. And then at the end, we're gonna average it to just have one score. So if you agree with one of us more than others, like, oh, I don't really like fighting games or He-Man games, my score might mean more to you. Or, oh, I really don't like the way the beginning sounded, but I love He-Man, Bob's score might mean more to you, right? But then we'll have an average score at the end for Board Game Geek and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, let's go in order of final thoughts. Spencer, what do you rate it?
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 7.5.
Nice. Bobby.
All right. I'm gonna go with 6.5. I enjoy it. I'd play it again. I don't think I need to own it. Tim's got it. Other skirmishy types of scenario games that I would rather play, but Orko.
Daniel.
My bar was set low again. I did really enjoy the game. I would totally play it again. But that doesn't make it a 9 out of 10 or something for me.
What?
I know. I had a fun time, and I'm going to fall on a 7 for now.
Yeah, I'm a 7.5. That could go up and it could go down depending on how much I would have to house rule this.
Right. If it needs a lot of house rules to feel good, that's a
Right.
problem.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that's a future problem.
It might only need 2,
Yeah,
which
or-
would be
Sure.
getting something for killing minions.
Or it might need none,
might.
and then we put a sticker on it that says "Don't play the rescuer scenario" or
Yeah.
whatever. So
and that scenario might also feel really different as a not AI scenario.
Right.
But
That's
it
true,
was
too.
approved
That's
for
true,
AI.
too.
I did
Yeah.
verify that as well.
Right.
Yeah,
we
because
didn't
so not
just-
every mission in there is AI
correct.
approved.
Correct.
So,
yeah, they do. There's 4 of them that you can play with AI that I saw in there.
So if we take all of our scores and we average them together, beep, boop, 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 7.1.
7.1.
Not too bad.
Yeah, I mean that's a recommend, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad we took a shot on it. You
Yeah.
know, thank you guys for giving it the time because. You know, the nice thing, though, is even when we're playing bad games, we still have fun with it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
this wasn't a bad
Usually.
game. Yeah, usually. But we were we were kind of up and down and laughing
Yeah.
and loud.
We
and-
had
It
a
was more
stand-up
the fact that you were
laugh.
just
Yeah.
throwing everybody into everybody else.
Yeah,
That
Come
was-
on, it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
It was. We had a stand-up laugh moment at the end
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we pulled it out. So
Yeah.
even though it was cheating,
Well,
We just sped it up by a round.
I'm still gonna look it up a little bit.
We sped it up by a round. But all right, guys. Well, this has been Masters of the Universe, the board game Clash for Eternia. There's not He-Man on there anywhere, but I kept calling it He-Man.
that's
right.
interesting because on BGG I think it does say He-Man.
Oh, does it?
I think so. I don't know.
Maybe.
I misremembered. Remember, there are like 4 He-Man games that came out in the last couple of years. So.
Yeah,
They're out there.
they are there, and so are we. So be sure to like our Discord, subscribe to videos. Super important.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
That bell is huge, subscribers. Check it out.
It is.
All right, guys. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Man at Arms.
And I'm Dan.
Woo, we'll see you
See
next
what
time.
did there.
What?